So I was doing some good there, but like with bags, I'm like, I care more about pushing the values of personal freedom and sovereignty. And like, I care about that. So I realized, well, I need to then build a new bank.
Yep.
And I'm born on the 28th, which is the number of wealth. The simulation is speaking to all of us because we're all like in this shared dream together. We're all creating it. So you can like hear it too. And that's the intuition side. The numerology, I think, helps quantify the intuition.
Yes.
The real vision is I want to bring 1 billion people into crypto, and I want to change how money moves, and I want to make it really easy. 15 years ago, the idea of taking your phone and having your boarding pass on your phone and scanning it was wild.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's now completely normal.
Yeah.
So take that same concept of like where it starts at like nothing, and then now we're Apple paying for things, right? My robot's gonna cook for me and clean for me and help me with my work, and then eventually the robot will just do the work, and then eventually the work won't even exist because all the other robots are doing the work.
What happens to money?
Money goes away. The reason for money is it's a representation of the scarcity of resources. Bro, when I have 100 robots, dude, they're building pyramids for me. Like we're gonna be building, I'm gonna be building crazy shit. Like no one is prepared for like that kind of ingenuity where like you could tell a robot.
You'll have 100 humanoid robots. Yeah, you'll just have that.
But at some point they get guns. And if your AI has guns, then mine need guns too.
Yeah.
And that's the scary world that will happen at some point. And I think
it'll
happen.
Robots are fighting the robots.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason that I will leave society is because I'll just see this coming. I'll be like, okay, we got to get the fuck out of the cities. We got to get the fuck out of the countries. We got to get away from everything. And we need to start building civilizations on islands, things that aren't on the map. Go find other land that they're hiding from us. Just like we have to leave. We won't be able to stay in society because it will be a war. The AIs will get weapons and they'll hunt us down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna reclaim the seabed, and then we're gonna embed massive chunks of limestone into the seabed of the island, and then we're gonna build machines to generate electricity, and then we're gonna use the AIs to build pyramids, and then the pyramids are gonna create this energy vortex around the island of frequency, and then that will be able to be used. That if like a swarm of drones come, we just ring the bell, and the ancient technology that vibrates the air around us that creates this force field. The drones will fall out of the sky. Like that's
the clip right there. That's all right, guys. Welcome back to the 30,000 Feet in the Air podcast. Today, our first guest is Hunter Isaacson. We are we're flying from LA to New York. We've had a great conversation so far, and we're talking about content and podcasts. And we're like, why don't we just record a podcast right now? Because I have these nice mics attached to us, and we're like, why not do it? So Hunter's on a little podcast run. For those of you that don't know who Hunter Isaacson is, you guys have a treat today because Hunter is a serial tech entrepreneur, I guess you might say. I mean, I would go zoom out and just say like, I literally put Hunter in like the same category of minds as like a Kanye West, as like Brian Chesney from Airbnb. Like he's just visionary thinker, like futurist. But you might not know his face, but you probably used some of his apps, whether it's the NGL app, which has passive like 100 million downloads a year. It was #1 in the App Store for a while. This is the app where you basically ask your friends anonymous questions and then post it on your Instagram story. Just gives us a little adjustment here. So Hunter's like a genius of social engineering, virality, and social engineering in general, and understanding human psychology, and how to build amazing products. He's currently working on Bags, which is basically the banking app for Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Future. And you probably use it to trade crypto, but there's a lot more in store for that. Hunter and I have known each other for over a couple years now. And we just, living the travel ho lifestyles that we do. We were like, let's go to New York and see what's going on in New York.
T-Ho Life told us to go to New York. So
dude, we started off in Delta One year. The Delta One,
amazing.
It's a different first class experience. We were talking about the difference between flying private, flying Delta One, but it was a really nice experience.
It was a really nice experience. You know what it felt like? It felt like the golden age of flying.
Yes.
Like when you see the ads, like we talked about this when we were eating, we're like, in the 50s and the 60s and just like get a nice steak dinner and have a beautiful, experience at the airport, no stress.
Yes.
It felt like that.
Yeah. So it was, I mean, it was like what flying should be. And since of course 9/11, which, I'm 2800, you're what, 25? I mean, by the time we were really flying, like the whole airline industry totally changed. You look at like 1980s, like airline commercials, just looks like such a luxurious, nice experience.
Yes.
And that was lost through 9/11. And it's coming back with Delta One. It's like you have your own check-in. Security is not this huge hassle.
It's
so
like
nice.
Omakase
suit, not omakase, but we had sushi.
We had sushi. We had steak.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that was amazing. That was how it should be. And that was like, it made the price of the ticket so worth it. Because it's just like, I'm not just going to get treated like an animal. Like, I'm going to get treated like a person.
Right.
I'm going to be taken care of. I'm going to be wined and dined. That's what we want.
Yeah. So it was good. And we had massage chairs. Massage rooms are hard to explain, right?
I can't explain it because you said to me, you were like, bro, the massage chair. I've never sat in a massage chair that I actually like gave a fuck to say something about. But now I feel like I'm like an early evangelist for the Delta One massage chair. Phenomenal experience.
Did you have the nature sounds?
I did the sound bath.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I did the nature sounds. I need to do the sound bath next time.
I was in it, bro. It got completely dark in there.
Yes.
It was a vibe.
It's just how life should be. It's how flying should be. I think that's kind of a good segue to what this conversation is about, which is like, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world. We were born into this world. We're at that age where it's like we can really shift culture.
Yes.
And we've realized like we are often some of the smartest people in the rooms that we're in. And that goes just for me and Hunter, but like whoever's listening to this is probably, someone that's capable of doing stuff and changing things and changing society. And, I'm curious for you, Hunter, like when you had that awakening to like, wait a second, like there's that meme that's like, you can just do things. You know what I mean? It's like, you are someone who's really done that. I'm curious, like how you kind of think about that and action that in your life and where does that take you? Because the one thing we're thinking about is like changing the fabric of how flying should be, right? It should be like Delta One. But there's so many things in life where like, well, banking. Okay.
Yep.
You're building a banking app right now. Bags, by the way, download bags.fm or go to the app store and download Bags. You're changing the fabric of banking.
Yes. That's the goal.
What is like, talk a little bit about Bags, talk a little bit about like the mission you have with that, the idea of like, changing the fabric of society and how it functions.
I mean, I kind of realized that you could just do things when I was like younger. I just realized I was like 17, 18 when I built my first company. I was just like, I'm just going to do this. Like what, who cares? Like, I'm just going to learn. And I just like failed for a while and like made no money and I was dirt poor. And then I just slowly had apps that I was working on start to do well. And then like it slowly spun into like, I was working in the industry. And then I was realizing, well, I can work in the industry, I can work a job, but I also can just go build my own startups. And cause I know this space so well. So I just basically went from like entrepreneur, failed, employee, then gained sentience again, realized, no, I am an entrepreneur. I just need to learn these skills. And then I really learned that I could just do things when like NGL blew up because it just got so big.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that you could just like push something in the world and then have this insane fucking response. And it's like, it was fucking crazy. We did like, we did millions of downloads a day and it just was like, oh, I can just do it.
Yeah.
It is possible.
It reminds me of what we were talking about a little bit before this, which is the same Pablo line with Kanye. That's like, like Kanye is someone who hotly debated right now, especially in our Jewish community. And we're both Jewish, but Hunter's
both Jewish.
Hunter's like, I bought the shirt. I bought the shirt, bro. And he's someone who's doing it. Like, what are your thoughts on how Kanye does that? Like by poking conventional things and just doing things to change it. Thoughts on Kanye?
I think as a Jewish person, my thoughts on Kanye, I really respect Kanye. I think he's an amazing artist. I think he's probably one of the best artists, if not the best artist of our generation, like over the last like 30 years. Like the guy understands beats and music and culture and fashion. I mean, he had the most popular shoe brand in the world for years. Like we're talking about someone who literally pushes culture. I think what he's doing with this whole, this whole push is he's just pushing the narrative and trying to change the Overton window, which is kind of like his whole thing in society. Like
You were saying that's like his whole function.
his whole function in society is there are some people in this society that their entire role is just to like poke and move the Overton window.
Yeah.
And if you can move it enough, then whatever they said years ago becomes totally fine.
Yeah.
So a classic example that I look at is like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was saying there's an island where they're bringing politicians and blackmailing them with children. It was 2019. And people were like, you're fucking insane.
How did you know that?
I knew it since I was like a kid. Like,
What do you mean?
like people told me.
Oh, people told you.
My cousin told me when I was like 11. He's like, yeah, there's an island and like all your favorite actors are there and they're all having sex with children. And I'm just like, wait, what? So I was like, I was red pilled super young.
Yeah, okay.
But then like 2019, I did my own research. And I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. But I was called a nutcase.
Yeah.
You know? Now you think about, bro, every third grader knows who Epstein is.
Yeah.
You know? I was talking to my cousin recently. She's a middle school teacher. And they had to ban the word Diddy Party or the phrase Diddy Party and the phrase Epstein's Island and all these different phrases, like crazy shit like that. But it's an example of like 5-6 years ago, you're called a nutcase.
Yeah.
And then now you have middle schoolers laughing about it and being told they can't talk about it.
Yeah.
So you apply the same thought to the things that Kanye is saying. Kanye is just pushing the narrative. He's pushing the envelope. He's pushing what's culturally acceptable.
Right.
And he's pushing it to the farthest extent you possibly can.
Mm.
You know, that's about as far as you can go.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's doing it, because he wants to see, can he go to the exact opposite of the spectrum? And are there enough people that would allow him to just do?
Yeah.
And so for me as a Jew, I don't look at what Kanye does as like, Kanye hates me. Kanye hates that there was a system that I guess had Jewish people in it that wronged him. The problem that Kanye needs to do is he needs to stop talking about all Jews and just target the ones that went after you.
Right.
Because there's bad people in every religion and in every race across the board. I think that's where he gets it wrong, because he just needs to like make it exclusive to the people he doesn't like.
Yeah.
But I mean, bro, I let him do his thing, man. Like, let him do his thing.
Yeah.
He'll go away and he'll come back. You know, he comes in, guns blazing every time, says some wild shit, then he crashes out, goes away for a few years, and then he does it again.
Yeah.
That's just how he plays.
Yeah. He's just a master of like attention transmutation. Like, he's like, I love Hitler. And then it's like, go to Yeezy.com. And then people go to Yeezy.com and then they're like, oh fuck, this is these fucking Yeezy. I want some Yeezy bots. Like I bought them.
We bought the vultures, like the vulture shirts.
Dude, I bought them when they were like
horrible merch.
Not the best quality.
No.
And we also bought them when they were like $400. And then
What are
we
they
released them
now?
for 20. But like, we don't care. Like, we're just
we're like, fucking, it's Kanye.
He's someone who did that. So dude, when we first hung out in Spain and you were talking about, I remember you were talking about like stuff with NGL and you had this kind of map of what you were doing with it. And then you were talking about building like a similar like Snapchat thing. It was you had a different mindset than you did now, but it was the same thing applied. It was more for evil. That was more for like a little bit more for evil.
Yes.
But you changed your mindset to be like, whatever I create is for God and for good.
Yes.
But at the same time, you were still like poking, you were poking society.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm just going to move this section of society.
Just
here.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. But you switched it. I'm curious, like, what made the switch and how you also looked at that whole, like, thing.
Yeah. Well, I think with NGL is like, you know, after that happened with NGL and it got so big, I had like all these other ideas that I were like, this is the same kind of social dynamics that I used the last time around. This will work again in a different way. And so that's kind of why I was just like, I'm just gonna keep building social apps. Yeah. So I tinkered around. I had a bunch of them. I designed a bunch of them. They they're sitting there on my computer, like, they're all really good ideas. They could all go number one. But I kind of had this realization of like, sometimes in life, you have to not compete with your former self, because I see this all the time with founders. They'll have their first win. It'll be like, they'll be slaving for years, first win. And then they try to like repeat the first win, but not realizing it's like, no, no, you already did that. You were the underdog and you had that underdog story, but you're no longer the underdog. Now you're trying to get to the next level. And a lot of founders will intentionally make themselves the underdogs again and try to do it bigger in the same space. So I was just like, well, I'm not going to go out with a goal of building a social app for now 500 million people. I don't want to do that. I did NGO. We're at 250 million. Wink is at 70 million downloads. It does $100 million. NGO does $100 million a year. Multiply it out. It'll continue, so it's like, I already hit that, like that piece of my career.
You've easily reached like at least a seventh, 1/7 of the human population.
Yeah. And I want to get more. I need more, more energy,
Yeah.
It's all energy manipulation and transmutation. So it's like, the more energy you have, like the more people you have, like you can really start to will the world into the direction you want it to be willed in.
Yeah.
But like, I kind of realized that I was kind of doing it, like you said, like not purely for good, but for like my own, like, would this work? Like, let me push this. Could this happen? And then once I realized that like, oh, that can happen. Well, I don't want to compete with myself. I don't want to do the same thing again. Let me do something completely different. Let me not compete with myself.
Yeah.
And do something that's like for the world. And that's why I decided like, okay, I want to get into consumer finance. I want to help bank the underbanked and the debanked and the unbanked and whatever.
Yeah.
Anyone that's, even the people that have bank accounts, I want to debank them and put them on bags, right? Like I want to bring them into this new economy. I want to move away from the central banks, move away from the centralized powers. I think that your money should be yours. I think that like nobody should be able to take it from you. Personal sovereignty. Like I realized that like I was pushing some of my narrative with NGL of like free speech and like say what you want. That's why it's like anonymous. It's not censored. I mean, we have bullying censors, but other than that, you could say what you want. So I was doing some good there. But like with bags, I'm like, I care more about pushing the values of personal freedom and sovereignty. And like, I care about that. And I found that like, I could just push that with a different product.
Right.
And be more like in line with my true self and like my life path. I'm an 8 life path.
Yeah.
Which is the path of the banker.
Yeah.
So I realized, well, I need to then build a new bank.
Yep.
And I'm born on the 28th, which is the number of wealth. And I was born in a 28 year. And my initials condensed to 8. So my numerology was all telling me like, you need to do this. And for me, like I've only ever done halves. I've never done any of the business ever.
How do you validate numerology and like the spiritual side into something that you really believe in and you don't think it's just crazy talk? Because you're someone who it's like people will see like guy on a short form piece of content being like, oh, like I'm an 8 life path and this and that. And then it's like, oh, but wait, this kid's 25 and he's made tens of millions of dollars and he's saying that this is the thing. So
this is the thing. The way I realized that it was real was I just kept encountering it. Once someone told me what it meant.
What did someone first tell you?
2021.
Oh, okay.
And then 2022, I got a little more into it. And then like 2023, I got really deep into it. Because 2023, I read like a bunch of very old books and like, Hermetic philosophy stuff and like just learned a lot of things and like studied. And I basically realized it because I would just go out in my day to day and I would like feel abundant, right? So I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to go buy myself a nice pair of shoes. And then I would add up the numbers and it would equal 8. And I was like, that's weird. Yeah. And I'd be like, I'm going to go, and then some other time, like I'm going to get on the flight and I'm going to go to Europe. And then what the seat number, like today we're in 8. Yeah. Right. It's like same kind of concept. Like I just realized like, oh, when I start to see this number, because it's my number, I should probably like, whatever I'm thinking about is probably the right path. And then that kind of helped me like start to figure out, because like the simulation is speaking to all of us because we're all like in this shared dream together. We're all creating it. So you can like hear it too. And that's the intuition side. The numerology, I think, helps quantify the intuition.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think I was definitely more intuitively spiritual, as you're saying. There's kind of a difference. It's like there's the intuitive word of God that you hear,
100%.
but then there's like the actual physical manifestations of that. And the easiest way to kind of know what track you're on is when you see the numbers align.
Yeah.
And it's not something I don't think it's something to like fucking drop everything you're doing and like be like,
No.
oh, I gotta study numerology, but just notice these things and
Pay attention to it.
pay attention. And it's like for example, a little one is like, we booked our flight, and what seat are we going to choose? Well, obviously we're going to choose 8. It's like,
Of course. Number of money, right?
Exactly.
If we want to make more money, we're going to use that.
And I think it's funny too. Like we got here, there's a lady sitting in
Hilarious.
And I was like, but why are you in 8? Like, and then I looked at my ticket and it said 2 because I booked 8. But then she's like, oh, it's random assignment. I was like, oh, and then she moved to 2. But even still, like 2, 8, it was like
it's 28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny how that runs together.
Or it's all there, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all like the numbers is, in my opinion, is like the one source of truth in the universe. Like remove language, remove society completely. You have this thing here and that thing here. You have 2 things.
Yeah.
It's just math. Like it just works, right? Like
Right.
it's just how it works. So that's kind of how I see it. And that's why I think numerology is like helps you deduce what is the right decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
So like next time you're in a situation, whatever random person, right? And you're talking to yourself and you're like, I really got to go to the gym. I really got to eat clean. And then you look at the microwave and it's 444.
Yeah.
That's the universe literally telling you, hey, you're in alignment.
Yeah.
Let me show you these numbers that are in line. So you understand that's in line with what you should be doing.
Yeah.
If more people did that, they would actually like live a better life because they're actually like hearing and you're seeing like intuitively what the right path is.
Yeah. Yeah. It is it's funny to see because I think when you're like younger and you hear about this stuff, you're just like, there's no way,
100. That's how I was, bro. It's like
this
if I listened to myself 10 years ago, I would think that I had lost my mind.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's just when it keeps coming up, and then every person you talk to, it's similar thing with God. Like when I was 18, I thought that God was like only for dumbasses who just were just like raised in the wrong society and they have a closed mind and they can't like accept new ideas. And then the more you like everywhere you go, and then you know what else you start to realize is every new person you meet is, I would say like 90 to 95% of the time has the same exact metaphysics and spirituality views. Like, it's just like people you attract. It's like, they're like, like, I was raised like Catholic, but of course I understand that like the Muslims they're just using different language to describe virtually the same thing.
Same thing.
And everyone kind of gets to that level.
Yeah.
And, it's fascinating how that functions.
It is fascinating. I think that like society right now is also kind of like going back to some old ways, but in like we've kind of like, if you look at the last 20 years, like we kind of went off a cliff in one direction and then the Overton window snapped back literally 180, like just fucking flipped.
Yeah.
And now we're in this interesting place of like, it feels like traditional values are coming back, traditional masculinity and femininity and like, being like, not just going to the club and, being sloppy and like, I think it's going like families are cool and like having kids is cool and like versus like, no, I have no kids and I'm 40 and I live my life. Like that's like, it's like we're going back to normal.
Yeah.
I feel like the rejection of traditional values went so far that it embraced very low vibrational activities. And now we're boomeranging back. And because of that, and I think the reason that people like me, like you, are now coming into each other's fields is because society in general is waking up. So there's more of us out there. And then if there's more of us, then we can attract each other.
Yes.
Because like I don't chase anything in life, I just attract. It's like our friend Mike says, it's about magnetism. Right. Like that's everything is about magnetism.
Yes.
The people you meet is a direct response of who are you as a person, right?
Yeah.
The reason you haven't met the person that's like, I saw that shirt. Yeah, unbelievable.
I want to
simulation, right? We should talk to that guy.
I want, sir, sir.
Yeah.
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah. What is it? What is it?
I wear.
Where's it from? Is it like a brand or
Yeah, brand. Who's it?
are you associated with it? Oh, okay.
Just like the show.
Just like shirt. Cool. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Shirt says spiritual gangster.
Good shirt.
Yeah.
Good shirt. I'm a spiritual gangster too. I like that.
Yes. Yeah. So dude, you're doing more podcasts. You're working on the bank. The what's the vision? What's the bag's vision?
I want Bags to be an app that, like the real vision is, I want to bring 1 billion people into crypto, and I want to change how money moves, and I want to make it really easy. I want to make it really easy to make money, to organize and spend money, to talk about money with your friends, and to just like in general, like have a piece of software that does actually help people get out of the trenches in that way. Right now it's meme coins, but like we know crypto is cyclical and we know that the asset class is always changing. So whatever it ends up being, we're going to support everything. So it's like, the idea really is just like, yeah, I want an app that if someone asks, like, how do I make money? How do I get into crypto? How do I, like, I want my, like anything with finance, I want them to just think to come to Bags because they know that it's a trusted brand, that it's like, we're here for the long haul and we're for the people.
Yeah.
Like I'm not built, like I built this company selfishly. Like I built it for myself because I was worried that some of the ideas that I had, I would just be debanked. Because, I was spewing my ideas back during COVID online and, I was getting censored and taken off all the time. And I had friends that were debanked.
Yeah.
A lot of my tech friends.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, shit, I don't want to get debanked.
Yeah.
I should probably have my own like bank so that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's why like kind of brought me into the vibe. It's just like, I want my own freedom. And if I can provide that for others, then that's a great value.
You know what's interesting is I think this applies to some people at every level as insight, and you're kind of a really good example of this. But a little story, and I'm sure you have something super similar. Like when I first started opening up and tapping in to like, these kinds of ideas, like, oh, well, maybe what if I build something like this? Yeah. I think I might have told you this, but my first app idea, I was in college and I was 18 and I was throwing parties. I just watched The Social Network. I was like, I want to build an app. And at the time I was like organizing, I knew all the freshman girls. So I was like the guy that the upperclassmen, like I was like recruiting cute girls, freshman girls to go to the parties. And so I was, ambitiously like social freshman, just talking to everybody. So I knew everyone. So I was in charge of like the Facebook invite list.
Okay.
And I realized this is a horrible management system for a party. There should be a way, kind of like Tinder, where you can throw a party, set up a party in the app, and be able to invite people, and then the host can like approve who applies to go to the party. And I called it Rally, and I had a whole like wireframe built. I'm like 18, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing, but I'm just doing this. I had a dev build it who actually ended up getting a job at Google. So he was like super talented dev, like he knew he wasn't like some idiot, and built it out, and then had an MVP, and then I just started YouTube. And I forgot about it. I stopped.
Interesting.
But bro, I'm telling you, feature for feature, I'm talking about Partyful.
Yeah.
And I was doing this in 2015.
You were just early, bro.
I was just early.
Just early.
The lesson there is like, anyone listening to this, whatever level, it's like, oh, you want to build a thing? There's ideas that are just floating around in the ether that you can, if you get them and you're like meditating and you're tapped in, you can just like go, I'm going to do that one.
Yeah.
It's like, they're there.
I mean, that's kind of how it was for me, is like, I was after NGL, I was kind of like, what do I want to do now? And then it was just like, I started traveling a lot, and then I was meeting all these crypto guys, and I was like, wait, I love crypto. I've loved crypto for years. I forgot that I loved it so much. I forgot that I'm so motivated by like the problem it solves. I can just do this.
Yeah.
It's like, this is like way, way better. And this was like 2023 when I decided to like build in crypto.
Yeah.
And building in crypto is like fucking polar opposite of investing in crypto. Like building in crypto requires years. Investing in crypto requires minutes, right? Like it's like building in crypto and being good at building in crypto is really hard because It's very hard to find good devs,
Right.
especially mobile devs that also understand crypto.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Like the APIs are pretty limited. There's not that much documentation. You kind of have to build everything from scratch by yourself. The providers, a lot of them don't scale. Like there's just so many things. Like in my opinion, like crypto now finally is at the position where like people can build in it.
Yeah.
But it's still really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like landing a transaction,
Right.
like sounds easy.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
Getting data from the chain sounds easy. Like, oh, just plug in. It's not. It's
right.
Like it's like all these special things that you need to build, all these systems.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you can still just do these things. You just start solving the problem. And then I think you also realize, especially when you start making money and then you make littlings, you hear this so much on social media, but it's so true. At the end of the day, even as we're talking earlier, like, okay, let's say you make you exit one of your companies, you're probably going to have a 9-figure exit soon with NGL at some point. I don't know how under wraps that is, but at some point. And like, you have all this money. It's like, well, you're still building. So whether you're like, this is something that popped up in my timeline at some point. It was just like, even when you're broke, you're actually in the same position as you are when you're rich, because you're still just building. And a lot of our friends have gotten wrecked in crypto recently.
Destroyed.
They've gone from millionaire to nothing basically, and they're in the same place. And it's like, but they kind of wake up and realize they're like, wait, it's actually not that different than what I was when I had the money. It's just my ego is a little bit hurt.
That's it.
So that's it.
That's it. And that's the thing. It's like every win you have, it's really all it is. Like you just like passing go and collecting $200. Monopoly. It's just Monopoly.
Yeah.
All Monopoly.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, cool. I passed go. I got my couple $1 million. Now let's go to the next round.
Yeah.
Oh, I made 10, 20, 30 million. Great. Let's now go to the next round. It's just like, it's the same shit because when you reach the goal, every goal you reach, then you look up and you're like, oh, fuck.
There's another level. Yeah.
I'm not even like, I'm nowhere near the top of the mountain. Like,
there's just more hotels on the board. There's just more. You can afford more things.
There's more. You can buy more houses.
Yeah. That's it.
It's
just bigger numbers.
Just bigger numbers.
What do you think about, let's get into like some futuristic vision shit. Cause this is where I think in the podcast game too, like there's almost nobody that has the foresight into the future that you do, or at least the take that you do. And like, I want to talk about at some point in the next like 10, 20 minutes, I want to talk about the Hunter's Island. It's not Epstein's Island, but it's Hunter's Island. I want to talk about what you think is going to happen in the market as far as people's jobs and NPCs and what they're going to do, universal basic income, general artificial intelligence. Like, let's just go down that route and just see what the fuck happens.
Well, what I think is going to happen, just like looking at it now, it's like the real replacement for the iPhone is the humanoid robot. Like the glasses will be a companion with the iPhone, right? Okay. The glasses are coming. The contacts are coming for sure.
Right.
But the real replacement, like think of the societal shift when we got smartphones and when smartphones reached like where everyone had one. Think about today. Great example. 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, the idea of taking your phone and having your boarding pass on your phone and scanning it was wild.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's now completely normal.
Yeah.
So take that same concept of like where it starts at like nothing. And then now we're Apple paying for things, right? It started as like just a phone. Now we're like literally, finding an apartment. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to take that kind of thought process and look at like, well, what is the world when you can just deploy 1,000 autonomous robots to go build a building in Manhattan?
Yeah.
And they build 24/7, 365 through rain, through snow, through anything. And they build in perfectly. And they know all the information. And all you have to do is just be creative enough to talk to the AI and create this vision.
Yeah.
So what I think it'll do is it'll create the greatest society of abundance ever.
Yeah.
It will be unbelievable.
Yeah.
People don't realize that so much of human capital is wasted potential. Think about how many smart people, but because they have to make money and they have to work a stupid job they hate.
Yeah.
that they're amazing artists and painters and poets and whatever it is, but they have to like work a fucking job to pay the bills in order to stay alive in a shitty apartment.
Yeah.
Now let's pretend that, a humanoid robot costs the same as an iPhone.
Yeah.
Well, then what's going to happen? Like, well, my robot's going to cook for me and clean for me and help me with my work. And then eventually the robot will just do the work. And then eventually the work won't even exist because all the other robots are doing the work. And it's just like, you have to multiply this out. So, I mean, yeah, bro, it's extremely fucking exciting. Nobody understands. We don't understand because like we weren't alive 80 years ago. Talk to someone who's alive 80 years ago. Dude, it's a different world. 50 years ago, different world. We don't really get that. All we've seen is like this one world that then had this technology introduced, and then we watched 20 years later. So now let's do the exact same thing, but the difference is it's not a piece of glass in your hand. It's like the replacement for human capital.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to free up people. I mean, I tend to think the same thing. Like, there's not going to be, people working in, like, I don't know. I think you wonder, like, how much of the jobs will be replaced. Because, like, if you go to a restaurant, you probably want, like, a human waiting on you.
Do you?
I mean,
let me ask you this. This is a good one.
Okay.
You go to the airport.
Yeah.
There's two lines. One line, they're both to check bags. One line, there's a handful of people in line, but it's a human being that's going to check you out and take your bags. The other line is a kiosk. You're already checked in.
Well, okay, that's different.
No,
TSA,
it's not. Same thing.
Dude, but okay,
No, but
do it with a
like,
restaurant. Do it with a restaurant.
Okay, restaurant.
You
Same
can go to
restaurant.
Nobu.
That's the thing. Different restaurants, some will have humans and some won't.
Yes, right.
I think the nicest will still have humans.
Yes.
But also, wouldn't you
It
want
will be a luxury to have humans.
But think about it. Do you need a human busboy?
No, you don't need a human busboy.
Do you need a human waiter? You don't need it. But
I think maybe
like
you'll
it.
have both. You like it, yeah. You don't need it, but you like it. Like you, I don't know. Yeah, you like the human energy of like serving you food. The human chef put his energy into the food.
I agree with that.
It's like,
I don't think it goes away everywhere.
Yeah.
But McDonald's has no chefs.
Yes.
In the future.
Yeah. And so what do those people do?
I mean,
what happens to money?
Money goes away. Money is the reason for money is it's a representation of the scarcity of resources. If you have a self-replicating humanoid robot technology that takes over the world, like the iPhone did.
Yep.
You have abundance. There is no scarcity of resources. There's enough land, water, birds, bees, cows, chickens. There's enough food for all of us. There's enough grass. There's literally enough where everyone could live whatever the fuck life they want.
And it's evenly distributed.
Yes.
Or it's well distributed.
It's well distributed.
Yeah.
But I believe it. I believe that ultimately it's like this, like we're going to move back to more like city states, and it'll be more like a federated society. Whereas right now we're like, large nations, and like there's these centralized banking powers and like all these centralized powers. And I feel like it's just going to go more peer to peer, like just map it out. It's going to go more peer to peer, more sovereign. People will have more personal freedom. They're going to want to handle their own things. People will form their own communities.
Yeah.
I think at some point in the next 50 years, there's a complete like fork in the road divide where like half the population goes and, fucks the AI robots and lives in the metaverse and really goes full on, like fully in the matrix. I think half do that.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
And then another group goes in an opposite direction, which is they keep the AI, they keep all the technology, but they go spiritual and they start building with old building techniques. So what I'm going to do, building with old building techniques, building pyramid structures. Like, bro, when I have 100 robots, dude, they're building pyramids for me. Like I'm going to be building crazy shit. Like, no one is prepared for like that kind of ingenuity where like you could tell a robot,
you'll have 100 humanoid robots. Yeah. You'll just have that. And that's like the new meta for like multimillionaires. Like, how many robots do you have? It's like not how many jets do you have. It's like, I have like 100 robots that build towers for me.
Yes.
and they fly around for me. They go get all the supplies. They drive the cars.
They cut the trees down.
Themselves. They cut the trees down.
Literally.
They just, that's so wild.
They make the metal. It's
bro.
People don't understand how crazy it can get. And I feel like there will be a divide, and some people will go super spiritual and will kind of realize that the robots can run society for us.
Yeah.
And we can be humans.
Right.
And I feel like what makes human beings special is like we care about taste, art, culture, and vibes, and energy. And we've lost that.
Yes.
We just lost it as a society in many ways. Look at the buildings we built. They're depressing.
They're super depressing.
Super depressing. Like,
yeah,
it's horrible.
I have a place I want to pick up. Let's pause it here. All right. So I was thinking about this. So if you think money at some point, like things are just going to be like free because productivity is going to be so high, what do you think the pathway to that looks like? Because obviously you're building a banking app, and in the future, do you think when everything is so like abundant, do you think people will still be using banking apps and have their own money to trade things with, or would they just, is Bags like a pathway? Is Bags like the last banking app?
I'd like it to be.
Okay.
I mean, I think money is like, it's slavery in a sense.
Yeah.
The fact that I know that if I want to just be free and live the life that I want, I know that I have to make billions of dollars just to be free.
Yeah.
Is kind of crazy when you think about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, I think that like, there's a certain level of personal freedom and sovereignty that's required. But then there's also like, you need a society.
Yeah.
So I think that's what the AI will do, is the AI will take care of the society part.
Yeah.
Keeping everything running. But then human beings can just like go off and be free.
Right. Right.
Whatever that means, right? I think some people will still work. I think there will be jobs, right? There will be careers, but they won't be the same way we think about them. Like a lot of people just get stuck in this idea of like, oh, well, that's how it is. Like, dude, we've had school for like 150 years. Human race has been around how many tens of thousands, hundred thousands a year? And who knows? Like we've had the stock market since what, the 1800s when it began. I mean, 1600s first with like the Dutch East India Company, and then like moving up, maybe a few hundred years of this financial system, maybe, right?
Right.
Okay. So like, why would we say this continues, you know? Like I think where we are right now in finance is a stepping stone to the next place. I think ultimately, like, there will always be ways of transacting, whether or not things are free or not. There will always be a method of transaction. That's where consumer finance will always have a play, but maybe we're not trading money always. Maybe it moves to like, we're trading just like stuff, like material goods or representations of that, you know, or AI compute, right? Like, there's different things that could have value, but purely the
things
dollar
will have
amount,
like
something
art will have value.
Oh, always, bro. But it won't be the same system of like the paper dollars with the money on the screen.
Right.
It just won't be the same because it wasn't like that a couple hundred years ago. So why should it be in 50 years from now?
Yeah. Yeah. So, man, all right. So humanoid robots, it will be a thing.
100%.
Are there any other like aspects of society that you feel like people don't think about enough that you think about all the time? And you're like, wow, like people have no idea, like there's going to be humanoid robots. People have no idea. People are going to be having sex with robots and having actual like human robot children.
Yeah.
Where the robot births the baby.
Yes.
And it's half human, half robot. Like it's like, what other things do you think about like that?
I think a lot about that. Human beings are going to rediscover ancient technology, and we're gonna realize that like our system, as genius as it is, it's so genius that it misses the obvious thing. And the obvious thing is that there's energy all around us.
Yep.
The ancients knew this. Nikola Tesla knew this. People know this. And I think that what's going to ultimately happen is that our technology, using the AI will help us rediscover the frequency technology. Then, you know, because we were levitating shit like a couple thousand years ago with sound. If you look at like some of the temples in India, the way they carve the temples, they look like sound. And it's just unbelievable. I think that AIs will help us rediscover that. So I think human beings, one group will use the AI to get more in touch with being human. The other group will create something new with the AIs. And what you're saying is right. Like I don't believe in the idea of like like the artificial womb won't just be like a room in your house. It will be a robot. You're absolutely right. It'll be a robot that is the surrogate for the child.
Right.
And it's a scary world.
Thank you.
It's a very scary world because I think that's coming really fucking soon. Like 10 years, 15 years.
What? So, do you believe like you see those things? It's like the structures. You're like, there's no way that why don't we build like this anymore? Even like structures in New York, certain churches, and like you believe in like the ancient civilizations. They built their buildings. The pyramids are built a certain way to like manipulate energy and levitate things and time travel and like healing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I definitely think that too. I mean, I think even the whole New Testament, it's just Jesus walking around healing people with his hands, like, human. I definitely agree with that. What are the Tartarians? Like, what is, did I say it right? I feel like you know about this ancient.
I know a lot of this shit. It's a theory.
Yeah.
I like the theory. The theory is that there was a civilization called the Tartarian Empire that was massive in history. That is true. Yeah. We know this because of like the czars in Russia were talked about being Tartars. Like Genghis Khan was, that's who he represented, the Tartar people. So like there's an empire that essentially was wiped from history. And what I think is that that empire it represented a global society, right? Like there was a global society. And the reason you can see that is like, why do the buildings look the same in all the ancient countries separated by thousands of miles? It makes no sense to go to Japan and see the same kind of stuff as you see in South America and the same kind of stuff you see in Egypt and the same kind of things you see in Europe. You see the same building styles, the large domes, the spires, the stained glass windows. Like you see the geometry everywhere. The doors are always super massive, like way too big. Like who built this? Like this doesn't look like it's for humans. So yeah, my theory is just like they had advanced technology. The people that run the world don't want us to know about this because they don't want us to know. And because history is written by the victors, right? So you think of how many empires were wiped off the face of the earth in history that maybe had some crazy knowledge, but they were wiped out. So we get none of that. And I think that that's a pretty normal viewpoint to have, that maybe the history isn't 100% true.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're going to rediscover these things. Like the structures will be different. The humanoids will be different. What do you think of like I mean, we were talking about the schooling system, like how does education change in the next, like 10 years from now? What does it look like? Because right now it's still in total disruption. Like teachers are trying to figure out what to do with ChatGPT. I saw a stat. And also, by the way, like they don't realize that it's just like, it's going to get better faster. Yeah. And they're just not they're regulating GPT now. They're like trying to figure out how to regulate it. It's over. But it's by the time they come up with any rules or laws with that, it's like already to the next thing. All good. Thank you. And so what does schooling look like in a decade or 20 years? Like
non-existent. Virtually.
Dude, I saw this stat like yesterday. It was like Harvard, 25% of Harvard grads are like unemployed.
Yeah.
They can't get jobs, and they went to Harvard.
Most of them majoring in dumbass things that nobody wants to hire them for. I mean, yeah, man, things are changing. I think with school, there's already no point for most school now. Most of it, not all of it. I think the best part of school is the social development. Right. That's probably the most valuable part. It's just like being a kid, learning how to like deal with bullies. Yeah. Learning how to talk to girls. Yeah. Learning how to, say no to drugs. Right. Like peer pressure. Like there's all these different things that you need to learn as a society. Yeah. As a society, right? Like I learned lots of those things as a kid. Right? Like for example, I learned about peer pressure, and I was, I learned about, no, I'm not just going to do something if someone else is doing it. Then a couple years later, I'm told you need to get a vaccine. Why?
Yeah, right.
Because I fucking said so.
Yeah.
I was like, well, hold on a second. I learned about this concept called peer pressure,
Right.
and I don't like this.
Yeah.
But like, if you have a society of people that don't learn those things,
Yeah.
then like they're even more slaved, right? So that's why I think school in its current form, non-existent. School in a different form will always be around. I think it'll be more like apprenticeship. I think it'll be like how it used to be. People forget that like back in the day, the reason there's a last name Smith is because it was the blacksmith. The last name Baker is because that person was the baker.
Yeah, right.
People don't think just think logically here. This is across the board. It's like people had jobs. Your kids would learn your job, or they would apprentice under somebody else, and that's how it would work. And that's how it was for fucking ever.
Yeah.
And then the last 150 years, we decided let's sit 30 people in a room in rows and force them to raise their hands for 13 years, teach them no information that's applicable to the real world, and then see what happens. So, well, no shit. This is the society we live in, obviously.
Yeah. What do you think? So we talked a lot about like the good, like we're going to live in a very abundant society. There's obviously also going to be like, you'll be able to go into an AI 3D printing machine and say, build me an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
What do you think about that side? And I guess we go into like Hunter's Island at this point and the turrets.
Yeah.
And like, what are your, how do you see that?
So, I mean, I'm preparing for a 100-year-long war. Is what I'm preparing for. We're in a 100-year-long war with AI.
Okay.
It's not a war yet, but at some point they get guns. And if your AI has guns, then mine need guns too.
Yeah.
And that's the scary world that will happen at some point. And I think it'll happen.
Robots are fighting the robots.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that will happen. The reason that I will leave society is because I'll just see this coming.
Yeah.
I'll just see it.
Yeah.
Once the adoption's there, I'll be like, okay, we got to get the fuck out of the cities. We got to get the fuck out of the countries. We got to get away from everything. And we need to start building civilizations on islands, things that aren't on the map. Go find other land that they're hiding from us. Just like we have to leave. We won't be able to stay in society because it will be a war. The AIs will get weapons and they'll hunt us down.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean, I'm getting a vision, right? Like the way it's going to happen probably is like there will be some war in Ukraine or Iraq or, somewhere. And Elon will deploy the first United States soldiers. And they will be robots and they will be fighting humans and there will be a huge massacre of lives, human lives.
Yeah.
And robots will die, but no one gives a fuck.
Who cares?
It's a robot.
It's a robot.
And that's going to happen. And then like China will launch their war robot. And I think you're right. There will be a big war. And that's when I think you get the signal and you're like, okay, it's happening there. I got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I got to get my island and my turrets around the island and my force field and fucking Harry Potter, number 2 shit. There's going to be like a force field around the island. John Galt shit. There's going to be like a force field and you're going to have to keep the,
yeah, we're going to reclaim the seabed and then we're going to embed massive chunks of limestone into the seabed of the island. Yeah. And then we're going to build machines to generate electricity. And then we're going to use the AIs to build pyramids. And then the pyramids are going to create this energy vortex around the island of frequency. And then that will be able to be used that if like a swarm of drones come, we just ring the bell and the ancient technology that vibrates the air around us that creates this force field, the drones will fall out of the sky. Like that's
the clip right there. That's
because it's like the invaders are coming, ring the bell, and then boot up the technology, and then it's like boom, like what's it called? An electromagnetic pulse, an EMP weapon. EMP weapons and Faraday cages are going to be massive in the future. Massive. Yeah. Yes.
So what about like your standard like American family? They've got like modest means. They don't have any of this shit.
Yeah.
What are they going? What do you think they're? Because you're talking about like billionaire money. Like what you're gonna do? I'm gonna build the city of Atlantis for my own like offspring, right? With humans and robots protecting us. So that's what you're doing. But like, what about like the standard like American family who's like, we don't have billions, but we have our robot and we have a few other safety measures in place. Like, I feel like the safety measures for the average home will be pretty good. Like, you'll be able to buy like I feel like what I imagine, and I don't know, but you're gonna just like have like your house will be surrounded by this like this nuke protecting force field, you know, that's like invisible,
Possible.
and it's like the square footage of like your cube that you live in will be invisible field, and it's like protected.
Could be.
And you can turn it on and off, and it's like if there's a nuke incoming, you can just do that, and then it'll dissipate like over.
I mean, listen, the nukes are a risk, but I think the bigger risk in the future is the like tiny little robot the size of a coin that fucking flies at you with a poison dart trying to kill you.
Yeah, right.
That's the risk.
Or like, you know, the genetically modified virus, COVID,
yeah, COVID 9.0, whatever it is. Their next round.
COVID 29.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I think the way that it will be is it will start with like, once there is this risk that exists, technology will be developed. Like I imagine it's like almost like a bracelet, like a wristband that way you could activate it, and it's like an electromagnetic pulse, and just everything that's you know around you in like a 2-foot radius, down, immediately. And I think that's going to become really valuable. And I think what will happen is we as human beings, the reason my thesis all relates. The reason human beings will have to rediscover ancient technology is because the technology we created will betray us. And we have to go and learn the ancient technology of frequency and sound.
Agree. Yeah.
In order to
human
energy,
fight, spirit, endogenous, and God.
Yes. In order to fight the war.
Because if you have Christ on earth, right?
Yeah.
Any of the like super powerful spiritualized beings like Yogananda or like, you know, Bhagavan Krishna, you know, like some of these known, you know, Muhammad, right? Like you have them beings of that level, like humans are going to need to all evolve to that level because their energetic control and oneness with God will ultimately be the defense mechanism. Like I actually think that is the technology. Like that's like we already kind of have it. It's like prayer, right? Like,
yeah, because there's this concept of like we're in a shared dream, and it means that like everything you're thinking and everything I'm thinking is being created, and we're kind of all in this together. Which means if I can get you to subconsciously manifest that the world is going to go to shit, the world will go to shit.
Right.
That's why our generation, like I'm 25, I grew up watching and reading The Hunger Games, Maze Runner, The Giver, all these post-apocalyptic dystopian societies, these dystopian teen novels, and they fucking pushed that on our generation, and they made our generation believe that the future would be bad, that the future would be tyranny. And what happened? We literally had a couple years of complete tyranny, of complete insanity. And I think what the real weapon, like you said, is the manifestation power of human beings collectively. We can just decide the future is going to be amazing. And if we all agree with that, we will literally create that. So it's fucking crazy, but it's just going to happen. You know, I'm very into astrology and numerology, as we know. And like the last time that there was a specific astrological event, is an event that happened where Pluto transited from Capricorn to Aquarius, and it ended a 17-year cycle for certain signs. But it was also the first time in, I think it was like 250 years that Pluto had done this. And what's fascinating, yes, all done. About to drop some heat. Of course, the Matrix deployed. Have to.
Pluto Aquarius.
Yeah, so Pluto, the last time that Pluto did that, because, yes, thank you so much. So the last time that Pluto transited Capricorn to Aquarius was during the American Revolution and the French Revolution, 250 years ago. This just happened in November. So we're in for a 20-year period of revolution, just like happened in the 1770s. Same thing happened in the 1780s. So we're just right back there, which is fascinating. You know?
Yeah, I find it bringing it back into like the spiritual thing. Like I've been very into the Yogananda guy, and
Yeah.
one of the things, like the techniques that he talks about, is like in meditation when you close your eyes and you raise your eyes, he calls the third eye as the Christ center.
Yeah.
And so if you reach a certain level of spirituality and you close your eyes and you look at the third eye, you actually see a light.
Yeah.
And that's like the Christ, that's like the light on the Christmas tree. That's the Jewish star, Star of David.
Yep.
In Islam, they have the star and the moon. Like that's the star. And so that is actually a reflection of the mouth of God, which is the foramen magnum, which is where the spine meets the skull.
Yeah.
This here is the mouth of God. And so when you close your eyes, you understand like you are one with God, but you are not God. But when you close your eyes, if you actually look and pay attention to what you see with your eyes closed, it almost looks like billions and billions of tiny little stars.
Does
It, and you can actually, this is what Yogananda says, you can see like the universe with your eyes closed. And so you're not God, but God, you can see through God's eyes. You can see the whole universe, and you can send out vibrations
so true
through that.
so
And
true.
so that's where I think it ties in with like the planets and everything. And you're more knowledgeable about that than I am. I need to read up more on it. What are your sources for these kinds of things?
I read a couple of books. I've listened to a lot of smart people talk about it.
Yeah.
I've had lots of deep conversations with like very successful, billionaire people talking about this kinds of stuff. So I've just
Okay.
learned through people that I knew.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, yeah, ultimately, I think that like, it's not the secret to everything,
Right.
but it's a very helpful tool. And if you write it off, then that's okay. You don't get the knowledge. And honestly, I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Because, some people get the knowledge, other people reject the knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to be ready for it as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, if I was talking to myself at 15, 16,
Hearing this shit.
it's like, what the fuck are you saying?
Yeah, I know,
But it's true.
But now it's like, it's literally the most important part of my day. It's like when I wake up and like I contemplate God, and I send vibrations out into my day to all the people I care about. Like this is to God himself.
Yeah.
Like this is, you reach a certain level where you just sound like a crazy person, but then you ultimately you realize like, wait, we're on a spinning rock in the middle of this solar system. What's your explanation? Give me something better. Like,
Dude, I have no idea where we are. I have no idea. I don't know how we got here. My best guess is we are these four-dimensional, we're these interdimensional conscious beings
Yep.
that are trapped
Yes.
in this third dimension.
Yeah.
Where our one boundary is time. In the dream world, there is no time. You can move around freely wherever you want. That's our natural state.
Yes. Yes.
This is like, and I think it's like the idea of like, some energy runs this world and some other energy created the world.
Yes.
And it seems that the positive energy, this loving energy, created everything. And then there's this negative, destructive energy that is seeking to destroy the creation. And it's this push and pull. But the positive allows the negative.
Yes.
Because
Polarity.
Polarity, because
And vice versa.
you need to be able to see the difference.
Yeah.
And I think what happened is at some point, this negative energy trapped souls, us, into a 3D matrix where we're using our eyes to see, not the third eye, like the Yogananda says. So we're trapped in this visual matrix. So it says, God said, let there be light.
Right.
Right. And the idea of like, if you look at like, it's a specific, it's like an occult symbol. It could be a satanic, not satanic. It's a Egyptian occult, like Egyptian mystery school concept that like, when you see the Egyptian mummy, where he's like kind of standing there, like holding these two things like across his body, like the classic ones, it's actually the visual cortex. If you lay it down, it actually symbolizes the eyes and the brain and the connection between the points and how it intersects. And it's fascinating because I think that like, there's something with like, we are perceiving the world through our eyes, when in reality, the real truth of this universe is that we can exist anywhere we want at any moment, but we're trapped here.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to like go through certain trials, certain relationships, certain challenges to grow to the spiritual level to where we can return to that state.
Yeah, because we all agreed to come in here.
Yeah.
This was like our souls took the deal of, yes, I'll go into this reality. And I believe that our souls and a lot of the people that watch content like this, a lot of the people that are on the same frequency, they just understand that like we are here at this time because the world is changing. And we as like our souls that booted up into here, we're here on a mission. And there's a lot of us. There's millions of souls that booted up into this time during this moment to shepherd the human race from one era to the next.
Yes.
And that's how I see that I'm here. That's why a lot of our friends are here. And millions more around the world are. Like where we want to wake up humanity, we want to bring back a beautiful world. And, you know, I think that you're right. It's all a test, you know. We're in some kind of weird trials and, you know, you have to go through this relationship and go through this hard thing. And then you become a better person and you learn from your mistakes and just, it makes you a better soul, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. The future stuff is, I think it's some of the most fascinating stuff. I think the more podcasts you do, that's like bread and butter. Like you got to go on podcasts of like futurists.
I should. That'd be fun.
Cause those are like the clips that people are no one's seen that kind of shit. Like people aren't daydreaming like Hunter, you know?
I mean, I astral projected to like me at 100 years old. So like, I'll be honest, I saw the world. It was pretty incredible.
Really?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
Was that in like a mushroom thing or you just?
It's like a spiritual ceremony thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Taught me a lot about where the world is going. I kind of realized that like there was this, like the part of the reason I realized that like there was these two paths is I was able to like astral project and kind of go to that point and connect emotionally with my oldest, highest version of myself, who basically showed me the world through his own eyes and his own experience. And it was like sleek, metallic, humanoid robots building everything and picking things up and, you know, bringing me tea and bringing me, you know, and I was wearing these white linen robes like ancient Greece.
Yeah.
And everyone had these devices on their wrists that like, you know, it was screenless. It was like a frequency type device. And like, there was like monks and we were learning how to float and we were learning how to like levitate objects with sound. And it was just it was like a amalgamation of like the super advanced technology of like the devil, right? The iPhone, like it's like the super advanced technology hybrid with like the beautiful world that God created.
Yes.
And it's like, if we can hit that, dude, it's insane. It's like ancient Rome plus like cyberpunk. It's so cool.
Did you see Kanye's drone city?
Yes, I did.
What do you think of that? That's spot on.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating.
Self-sustaining city underground.
The only way you could build it is the AIs have to build it.
Right.
You know, that's the reality.
Yeah, we gotta get you in a room with Kanye and building some shit.
I just need like 5 minutes with him.
Yeah,
that's it. Just 5 minutes, and it'll be interesting content. But because that's the thing, I think that a lot of people see the same thing that I'm saying. I don't think that I'm saying anything that's too crazy. I think it's like if you just like piece things together, you just can like make an informed decision about where it's going.
Pretty good. Pretty solid for 30,000 feet podcast.
Pretty good.
I think we got a solid hour and 10 minutes.
That's good.
We'll
chop it a little bit.
Yeah, it's good to you get into the flow. I think we hit the flow like 25 minutes in. More so when we started talking about like futuristic AI shit. It's funny, like the most boring stuff is like, yeah, you know, I built this app and like that's how you engineer viral apps and that.
That's the most boring shit.
Humanoid fucking future. Like, wow, you don't realize this shit.
Yeah, it's true. I'm very bullish on the future though.
Me
very
too.
exciting.
Me too. All right, guys, download Bags. This podcast is brought to you by Bags, 8 a.m., shop 8amhouse.com. If you have a business, use getparker.com and make some money on Bags and Ask Your Friends Anonymous questions. Hunter J. Isaacson on Instagram, Twitter, or X,
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.